Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're all about spontaneous speaking, those times when you're put on the spot and have to talk off the cuff.
Oh, absolutely.
We're diving deep into this Stanford Business School YouTube video called Think Fast, Talk Smart, Communication Techniques.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone really who wants to feel more confident when speaking spontaneously.
You know me, I'm always looking for ways to improve my communication, and this video is packed with, really useful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right from the beginning, they pull you in with this fun
You
experiment.
mean the one where you count the F's in the sentence?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how many people miss a few.
Right.
It shows how our brains focus on the obvious and miss the subtle stuff, especially under pressure.
Perfect analogy for what happens when we're asked to speak up.
Yeah.
We get nervous and miss those key details.
Exactly. And speaking of nerves, the video says a whopping 85% of people feel anxious when speaking publicly.
It's a good point to make. Makes you realize it's totally normal to feel nervous. Most people go through it.
Phew. That does make me feel better.
Yeah.
But okay, so anxiety's common. How do we manage it? The video jumps right into that. Starts with greeting your anxiety.
Sounds simple, but it works. Acknowledging it, like literally saying, hey, I'm nervous, can stop it from getting out of control.
Takes the power away from those thoughts.
Yeah, just observe them, no judgment.
Love that.
Yeah.
And the second technique they talk about is reframing things. See it as a conversation, not a performance.
Exactly. Takes the pressure off. It's about connecting, not being perfect.
The video gives some good tips for that too, like starting with a question.
Oh, yeah. Asking a question makes it interactive, gets the other person involved.
And they also talk about using inclusive language.
Avoiding jargon, being more conversational, make people feel comfortable.
Right. So we've greeted our anxiety, reframe the situation. What's the third technique?
Be present. Focus on the moment. Let go of worrying about what might happen.
Like, what if I mess up? Or what if they hate my ideas?
Exactly those. They can really trip you up. The video suggests stuff like physical activity, listening to music, even tongue twisters.
They even had an example of a speaker who does 100 push-ups before going on stage.
Wow. Talk about getting present.
I might stick with deep breaths, but I love the idea of a physical ritual to calm those nerves.
Whatever works, right? The key is to focus on the now.
Okay, so anxiety's handled. Now, what about actually giving a good impromptu speech? The video gives 4 steps, and the first one is get out of your own way.
Let go of that need to be perfect. Just be yourself.
We overthink, plan every word, and then end up frozen.
Right. Like that saying perfect is the enemy of good.
Totally. Sometimes you got to just go with it. The video uses this fun game called Shout the Wrong Name to illustrate this.
Oh, I love that one. It's about breaking free from overthinking.
You point at things and shout the wrong name, right?
Exactly. It forces you to be spontaneous and creative.
It's like a workout for your improv muscles.
The more you practice thinking on your feet, the easier it gets in real life.
So step 1 is getting out of our own way. What's step 2?
Step 2 is seeing it as an opportunity, not a challenge.
So it's kind of like that mindset shift we talked about earlier, reframing it as a conversation.
You got it. It's about using these moments to clarify, explain, connect with people instead of feeling overwhelmed.
They had another game for this one too, right? Something about imaginary gifts.
Yeah. Imaginary gift exchange. You give each other imaginary gifts, and you have to come up with a reason why you chose it.
Oh, I love that. I can see that being a fun way to practice thinking creatively on the spot.
It really shows you how to embrace the unexpected.
Okay, so we've gotten out of our own way, seen it as a gift. What's next?
Next is slow down and listen. Seems obvious, but we often forget, especially when we're nervous.
We get so caught up in what we want to say that we don't even hear the other person.
They illustrate this with a game called the spelling game. You have a conversation, but you spell out every single word.
Oh, wow, that would be tough. But I can see how it would force you to slow down and really pay attention.
It's all about being present in the conversation and not jumping ahead with a pre-planned answer.
Sometimes the best way to respond is to just stop, listen, and then think.
Communication is a two-way street.
All right, we've managed our anxiety, gotten out of our own way, become better listeners. What's the final step?
The final step is to tell a story, but tell it with structure.
So not like a full-blown fairy tale. Though.
No fairy tales. This is about using structure to organize your thoughts and make it easier for people to follow. They focused on 2 main structures: the problem, solution, benefit structure.
Makes sense. Outline the problem, present the solution, highlight the benefits. clear and logical.
And then there's the what, so what, now what structure.
So you establish the topic, explain its significance, and outline the next steps.
Exactly. And they even showed how you can use that structure for introductions. Who are they? Why are they important? What are we doing next?
I love how they break it down like that. Makes it seem so much less intimidating.
The key takeaway is that these structures are just starting points. Adapt them to your own style and the situation.
It's like having a roadmap for your thoughts, but you can always take detours or add your own personal touch.
Exactly. Structure supports you, it doesn't restrict you.
They even had you practice selling a slinky using one of those structures.
Yes. It was a fun way to see how these frameworks can be used in a real-life scenario.
I bet people got pretty creative with those slinky pitches.
It's a good reminder that structure can be found even in the most unexpected places.
So just to recap,
Hmm.
the 4 steps are: get out of your own way, see it as an opportunity, slow down and listen, and tell a story with structure.
They also sprinkled in these improv maxims throughout the video. Those were so insightful.
Like dare to be dull and don't just do something, stand there.
They're more than just catchy phrases, you know? They're about embracing imperfection, being present, building on each other's ideas.
Letting go of control and trusting the process.
Right.
I'm feeling inspired. Let's take a quick break and then dive into some highlights from the Q&A portion of the video.
Sounds good. I'm particularly interested in what they had to say about handling those really tough questions.
All right, let's jump into that Q&A. Those tough questions, they can really throw you off.
Yeah, for sure. But the speaker gave some good tips on handling them. Like the first one was preparing beforehand.
So it's not just about reacting in the moment. You got to anticipate those tricky questions, think about how you might answer.
Right, have a mental toolkit ready. And when they ask those tough questions, the speaker said it's important to, acknowledge the emotion behind them.
So if someone's angry, you don't just go on the defensive.
No, you adjust the feeling directly. They had a good example, like someone complaining about the price of something. Instead of getting defensive, you say something like, I understand your concern about the value, and then explain why it's worth it.
So you validate their feelings, but you don't agree with their argument.
Exactly. And they also talked about paraphrasing, which is really useful.
It gives you a moment to think, make sure you understand the question.
And you can even kind of rephrase it to fit what you want to say.
It's like verbal judo. You use their momentum against them. Okay, what about remote audiences? Those can be tough to connect with.
Definitely. The speaker said it's all about creating opportunities for them to participate.
Like asking poll questions, using interactive tools.
Or even just asking them to visualize something keeps them actively engaged, not just passively listening.
Got it. And they also talked about tailoring your approach to different cultures.
Different cultures have different ways of communicating, so got to be aware of that.
Of course. And the question everyone wants answered: how do you use humor effectively?
Well, they said humor can be great for connecting with people, but it's also risky.
Yeah, what's funny to one person might be offensive to another.
Exactly. So if you are going to try to be funny, self-deprecating humor is usually the safest bet.
It makes you relatable, shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
And they give some practical tips. Test your jokes out on friends first. Have a backup plan if they flop.
And if in doubt, just skip the humor altogether. Don't force it.
Better to be authentic than to try to be someone you're not.
So true. Humor should add to your message, not distract from it. They also talked about the power of asking why.
Oh yeah, they said they even use that with their kids.
Yeah.
Gets people to go beyond those surface level answers.
It's like peeling back the layers, getting to the real heart of the matter.
Exactly. And for those times when you really want to get an honest response from someone, they suggested putting them in the role of an advisor. Like, what advice would you give someone in this situation?
Oh, clever. That could really help people open up and share their true thoughts.
Bypasses those defenses, you know?
Yeah.
Gets to a deeper level of honesty.
Love it. So to recap, we learned about managing anxiety, being spontaneous, structuring our thoughts, handling tough questions, engaging remote audiences, even using humor.
And throughout the video, they stress the importance of practice. You can't just listen to this deep dive and expect to be a pro. You gotta apply it.
Use it in your daily life. Make it a habit.
They even suggested using these techniques in everyday conversations, like use the what, so what, now what structure when answering your kids' questions.
That's a great idea. Sneak in some communication practice.
Yeah, and the speaker also mentioned their book, Speaking Up Without Freaking Out. Definitely going to check that out.
And their website, nofreakingspeaking.com. which has tons of other tips.
So for our listeners, the big takeaway here is that spontaneous speaking is a skill anyone can learn.
It's not something you're born with. With the right techniques and practice, anyone can do it.
And what's interesting is the connection between spontaneous speaking and improvisation.
Oh yeah, all those games and maxims really show that.
Both are about being present, adapting to the moment, trusting your gut.
Embracing the unknown and finding those creative solutions. One thing that really stood out to me was how the speaker emphasized the human side of communication. It's not just about techniques, it's about connecting with people.
Right. They even shared personal stories, made it more relatable.
Like they're saying, hey, I get nervous too. We're all in this together. And remember, this video is just the beginning. There's so much more out there to learn.
Keep learning, keep practicing, keep improving. Try new techniques, experiment with structures, find what works for you.
And don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. See those unexpected moments as chances to grow.
Yeah, embrace the challenge.
You know what? That's a perfect lead-in to what we're going to talk about next. The speaker talked a lot about using these techniques in everyday life, and I think that's so important.
I agree. Where does that fit in with like a bigger picture of communication skills?
Exactly. It's like, how do we go from practicing these things to actually using them in those high-stakes moments?
And how do we make sure we're not just like performing these techniques? We want them to be genuine and authentic.
Right? It's got to be real. So when we come back, we're going to explore that deeper connection between everyday practice and those moments when it really matters.
Looking forward to it.
It's like they're saying, don't wait for that big presentation to start practicing. Start now.
Yeah, exactly.
Or turn everyday conversations into little practice sessions.
You can even practice with a friend or family member.
Try out those improv games or work through those different speaking structures.
It's all about building those muscles.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling a little nervous about an upcoming presentation or a big meeting, what's like the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I'd say first, remember you've got this. Everyone gets nervous. It's totally normal.
Right?
But you have the power to like take control of those nerves and use them to your advantage.
Okay.
So greet that anxiety, reframe the situation, be present in the moment, and trust those techniques we talked about.
And most importantly,
Practice, practice, practice.
the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Exactly. And that confidence will shine through, making you a more engaging and effective speaker.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about sounding perfect or delivering a flawless performance.
It's about connecting with your audience, sharing your ideas in a way that's authentic and engaging.
And sometimes those little stumbles or imperfections can actually make you more relatable and human.
Totally. It shows you're not afraid to be yourself, which can be incredibly powerful.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage everyone listening to embrace those moments of spontaneity.
Don't shy away from them. See them as opportunities to grow and develop your skills.
Step outside your comfort zone, try new things, and remember, we're all learning and growing together.
And who knows, you might even surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
That's a great point to end on. Remember, communication is a journey, not a destination.
Keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.